Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Sonal.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I am good.
Good.
Sun is shining here, so it's good. It's
Same
almost
here.
weekend.
Yes. Yeah, all good.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for your time, and thank you for us recording our fourth podcast.
Oh, same. Yes, thanks. I love this opportunity to get together and discuss our shared passion.
Yes, yes. So just following, all the things we've been covering together, all the different topics we've been talking about. Um, in that, there's an important aspect of habit formation, of healthy positive habit formations, and they very rightly connect with our little ones,
Yeah.
the ones who are going to start eating, they're feeding, they're going to start their little adventure. So that's the topic we'll cover. And my first question, and first area of input from you is, what do you feel like, what are your thoughts on habit formation or the concepts of habits?
Well, I'm glad you brought it up, Sonal, because
Mm,
I don't know that we often think about habit formation or just that term when we're talking about kids eating.
mm,
Well, and first of all, what is a habit, right? A
yeah,
habit is an act or a behavior
yeah,
that we start to perform subconsciously, really.
mm, yeah,
And so, I think about, and maybe other people often think about habits as a negative. I think
mm,
about habits of, when I'm thinking of kids too, thumb sucking, um,
mm,
nail biting,
mm,
nail
yeah,
picking, smoking, all the bad
bad
habits that we think about.
habits, yeah,
And but I think if we flip that switch and we can talk about positive habits as well. And I think both of these positive and negative we can look at from a feeding lens,
correct,
right?
yeah, correct,
In which and so I think they can be beneficial
yeah,
in feeding. And I guess the question that I would love then to talk more about today is how do we use habits in a positive way
correct, correct.
to impact our kids' feeding and eating?
Yeah, yeah, because that's exactly what, with the course of work we've been doing. I've been thinking of, and and I completely rightly agree with you that habits, somehow in the kind of day-to-day work we are doing, it's stuck. Our notion of habits is on the negative side, and it's also on the corrective side of a negative habit.
Mhm.
Like it's almost like it's just relating to an adult thing, smoking. So need to quit that habit. Have gotten habit of binge eating, need to quit that habit. And what if, we as adults are on different side, but what if our babies are given that platform, are given that beginning consistently from our side, that it does become, and we are talking about feeding, that does become a healthy habit, a positive habit, and they subconsciously start doing it, you know?
Yeah, and to that point, so if we think about the first year of life for kids especially, or the first several years of life for kids, parents are the most influential factor in their lives,
Mm.
parents and caregivers. And so we have such a great opportunity
Yeah.
to think about approaching feeding as establishing positive habits
Mm.
because we know habits in adulthood, at least, habits can be hard to break. Those
Great.
negative ones can be really hard to break because they get
Yeah.
so ingrained.
Mm.
And so, but if we flip that and talk about them in a positive sense, we can think about laying down positive impact or positive habits for feeding that will last a lifetime, that we don't
Mm.
have to undo later on. But
Later
if
on,
we
yes.
it's just a whole different approach, I think, a positive way of looking at feeding
Yeah,
and the positive pieces of feeding.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, and Kelly, like, I think if just as a common man, common, date working parent, I can think of already some things which are not feeding, but yeah, I would want my child and us to be sleeping on time, to be waking up on time. Like, there's some just things you can think of. You don't have to really work on them. We know it. We know what's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to go to gym, for example. But when we think, or when we talk about starting food, when we talk about that itself is a big task. It's a big happy task. A lot of things, there's a lot of opportunity for young parents. But what are, from your side, when we talk about habits here, what are some things which you are looking for parents to do? What do you think are habits in those, they will, in the child's world, it will fall into a habit category eventually, once parents start practicing it. What would those things be?
One of the first things that comes to mind, one of the most, to me, one of the most important things and the most influential ones is mealtime structure
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and and eating as a family
Yeah.
or as some kind of a family unit. And
Yeah.
that can, we can define that many different ways.
Yeah.
I totally get how people's their schedules are busy. We're going in different directions. We have long commutes, long work hours, things like
Hmm.
that. We can
Hmm.
totally work around those things. But
Hmm.
just kind of generally thinking, how can we maximize structured meal times and family meal times, because there are
Hmm.
so many benefits, and research has shown this, so
Hmm.
many benefits to that together time and to that modeling. I mean, we just said that
Hmm.
this time is the most influential time from parents and what we're modeling. And so starting from the beginning, it also impacts, you know, the feeding behaviors, and the family structure and the structured meals impacts the hunger patterns and satiety. And
Hmm.
really, when we get deeper into kind of like the picky eating phase,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, just establishing hunger or even negative behaviors that kids have at meal times. Sometimes that, most of the time, that is our fault as parents and caregivers, that
Hmm.
we have
Hmm.
led them down that road
Exactly. Yeah.
inadvertently.
Yeah.
Um, so,
That's
and
interesting.
then, so the structure, but then also just what we're modeling, what we are eating and serving.
Hmm. Hmm.
We are the models for that, and those are habits too. Whatever the foods that we are modeling that we eat, whether they're healthy, not so healthy, are we eating all food groups, things like that, we're
Yeah.
modeling all those things for our
All of
kids.
those things. Yeah. Yeah. So I think then, adding up to what you say, it's fair to say that feeding is a lot more than the food in the plate, for especially for the little ones.
Absolutely.
What all they capture, and the vibe, and how everyone else is eating, techniques, spoon eats with spoon, with fork, with hands, all of that is then a lot more of grasping from their vibe, and their tribe, their parents, their family is their vibe. So yeah. Yeah, and personally, I have always wondered this. You just mentioned picky eating, but it's a big, it is one of, yeah, a situation, a phase, or yeah, a difficult time which many families face when their kids are into picky eating, highly selective eating. Sometimes picky eating is very difficult to manage. So my question is still around habits to you, but do you think that this development of habits, and how whatever habits are getting formed, they influence maybe future picky eating behaviors? Like, are they connected, or is a child always expected to be picky, a picky eater? Like, how? They're two different questions. So just the first question first.
Yeah, I think these are great questions, great points to discuss because on the positive and negative side.
Yeah.
So we definitely, I mean, what we are modeling, what we are serving, those are the foundational habits I think that we can start to lay down as parents. Um, when kids, I don't think I hate to think of the way of thinking. Sorry, just assuming that all kids are going to be picky eaters.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think that's a very dangerous
Hmm.
path to go down because if we think that, yeah, we're probably going to create a picky eater, even inadvertently. Um, because not all kids are picky eaters. They don't
Hmm.
all have to be picky eaters, but
Hmm.
certainly there are kids who go through a typical phase of picky eating,
Hmm.
particularly in toddlerhood. And I
Hmm.
think for the kids that that happens with, as parents and as models and caretakers, depending on what we do, how we respond, we can either encourage and enable that picky eating,
Hmm.
or we can try to mitigate it by modeling and trying to form different habits and new
Hmm.
healthy habits for eating.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So I think one of the ways that we go down a wrong road, or a more negative road of leaning into that picky eating is, say, the toddler starts to have some food jags,
Hmm.
like, which is, a kiddo might want to have chicken nuggets
Hmm.
3 times a day, 7 times a week, right? That's
Hmm.
the thing that they're on.
Hmm.
But typically that
Hmm.
should be a phase, it should come
Hmm.
and it should go. During these times, or during times where kids are being picky,
Hmm.
I think it's crucial as parents and caregivers that we continue to offer a
Hmm.
variety of foods.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
don't lean into that food jag,
Hmm. Hmm.
100%.
Hmm.
We still offer the foods that everybody else is eating, even in small amounts. I don't expect people, and I don't want them to put large amounts of, you know,
Hmm.
peas. If the kid
Hmm.
isn't eating peas right there, I don't recommend putting a large scoop of peas on the tray
Hmm.
because I don't want to waste food.
Hmm.
Um, but we have to
Hmm.
continue the exposure
Hmm.
to these foods, even if they're not eating them. Because if they're not on the plate,
They're not going to be eating. Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
they're never going to eat it, right? They don't even have the opportunity. And I think some parents don't even do it intentionally. I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
stop offering the foods intentionally. I think it's just like, oh my gosh, what will they eat tonight? What can I give them?
Yeah.
And we just then automatically have our go-tos, the
Yeah.
chicken nuggets, the fries,
Yeah.
and we just go into that automatic kind of easy
Hmm.
route, path of least resistance for the toddler. But
Hmm.
that's exactly where I think we can really encourage more
Okay.
picky eating.
Yeah. Yeah. And to kind of paint a picture for family, who's listening to our podcast, and they experience something similar. Would it would do you think a setup like where, yes, the child wants chicken nuggets, is given two chicken nuggets, one stem of broccoli and some peas, and that's their plate, just giving them some options. But also from a modeling standpoint, the parents' plate also has similar in the sense that got three florets of plucked broccoli, maybe some couscous, some peas, also one chicken nugget if they also want to feel like having. But, like, do you think that, yes, offering to the child, I fully agree that offering to the child, even if they're not into that food, just to give them as an option, but also showing them that the parent's meal has that food. Do you think that that affects the child, or it's just their plate?
100%. I
Mm,
think it impacts the child. Yeah. I mean,
mm,
again, we're those models. We
mm,
are the models. We're establishing the habits. So that is a habit of modeling, eating all the different foods that we want to establish.
mm.
If that's what we want our child to do,
To
to
do.
eat a varied diet, then we need to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And because my ultimate goal, because most families' ultimate goal, whether this is just regular picky eating or if it's a true like feeding disorder that I'm treating
Yeah.
clinically, is the ultimate goal is for everyone's plate to look
Mm.
the same.
To look the same. Yeah.
There can be some modifications in there, of those foods, but we don't want people being short order cooks each
Yeah.
night, right?
Yeah.
We don't want it's one meal, maybe some modifications for those foods because we don't all love the same things.
Yeah.
Um, but that I think that's the ultimate goal. And if we stop modeling those things, or if we stop expecting kids to eat
Mm.
those things, then we're not going to get to
We're
that
not
goal.
going to
We're
get
going to play into picky eating.
more and
Um,
more. Yeah. 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 It's kind of, if the objective is exactly, completely agree with what you say. If the goal and the objective is for a child to be eating a variety and, to be open to try new foods and yeah, just enjoying their foods, that will not happen if the variety is not offered. That has not happened if they don't see the variety in the house.
yeah,
Also, I think that is very difficult to happen if, yeah, if there's a screen on and the 3 4 members of the family are eating, yeah, together, but there's a screen on and the child isn't really seeing their plate, his own plate or her own plate is not seeing their family's plates, and they're all looking at something else and eating, right? Isn't that also, then I'm assuming that it's also part of an habit that I can't eat if I don't see something. Like I have to be entertained while eating, as if eating is in itself a mundane task.
yeah. And one of the things that I say to my parents that we're working on getting rid of screens or toys at the table is that I want you, the parent, I want you to be the exciting thing at the table,
Mm,
not the video, not the the screen or the toy. You are the should be the most exciting thing to your child.
mm,
And that really hits them, I think. I think
mm,
that's very impactful because then they're like, yeah, of course I
mm.
do. And
Yeah,
you are the biggest thing. You're the super person,
yeah,
super man, superwoman in your child's life.
mm,
And so let's carry that through at meal times. And
mm,
then as the kids get older, and we're talking about toddlerhood anyway here, it's such opportunities to talk about the day, to use language, to model
mm,
language, to
mm,
model turn taking.
mm.
I mean, I, I even talk with parents about, it's okay to, we could sometimes play some games at dinner time.
Yeah,
Not it, we don't make it a circus. We don't play board games
yeah,
necessarily, but just
yeah,
like word games, or each person gets to say one or two things about their day.
mm,
You can say something positive about your day or something that was hard. There's all kinds of things we can do
yeah,
that don't have to be distracting to the meal. It's just
yeah.
regular, we're
Regular
talking and
ones.
chatting and modeling. So there's so many benefits to that time, and it doesn't have to be long either.
Yeah,
Meal times, I get it. They can be fast some nights. They could be
mm.
20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Average is about 30 minutes. I expect
Mm.
toddlers to be able to sit at the table and eat for 20 to 30 minutes. I think that's pretty typical
Yeah,
expectation.
yeah. No, and I just feel, yes, we're talking about kids and toddlers, but I would say that as a parent who, and my son is also 3.5, it's such a refresher for the adult also. I feel like I have to admit, like, I had somewhere in the in between lost this sitting on the table, or like just sitting down and having a meal. I think I had, yeah, just in the rush of life and doing things and on the go, there was this coffee on the go. It was not just coffee on the go, it was food on the go. And some days are still like that, I have to admit. I think practically it's still not with the kind of time and the kind of work and life we have to pay for. It's difficult to have been sitting down all the time. But the meals which we can have benefited us also as adults, and not just, is I'm sure going to benefit our child. But yeah, Kelly, and just moving in the same direction, habits and modeling. So right now we're talking about external things, things happening around or in the plate, or things happening around the sitting area and all of that. But do you also feel like there are some types of foods, or just some types of things which are available in the market, which you personally dislike because you think that they kind of mess up that, this could be snacks, this could be anything, but they kind of mess up the taste and the body, what the baby's bodies, kids' bodies feel after eating them, and yeah, they become habitual to it.
Yeah, there are. And I want to be careful here because you and I both say, we've said multiple times that, we don't want to demonize any food. We don't want to think of foods in as good or bad. That we can find benefit in different ways for all foods.
Hmm.
And so without doing that though, there are some things that I think we get into some bad habits with.
Hmm.
And two of them that come to mind for kids in particular are is juice
Hmm.
as a drink, and like carby snacks. At
Hmm.
least here, this is what I see.
Hmm.
Meaning kind of like goldfish
Hmm.
in particular.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, because what I see happen oftentimes, and again, the parents oftentimes just kind of get into patterns. They don't want to be there. They don't realize even that they're there sometimes. But when they come in and I ask, how much juice are you giving your child in the day? And they really have to stop and think how many times they're filling up the juice cup throughout the day. And oftentimes when they sit there and then count it up, they're like, oh my gosh, they didn't even realize how much juice they're giving their child, because they fill it up, child goes, plays, takes the juice cup with them, sucks it down, maybe a couple hours later, comes back with an empty cup, asks mom or dad to fill it. Mom and dad is busy, they just fill it, they go off. And this happens multiple times throughout the day. So by the end of the day, the kid could be drinking 8 to 16 ounces or more of juice. And
Hmm.
we know, and the recommendations are that kids don't even really need any juice,
Yeah, they don't need
right?
any. Yeah.
So that's one of them. And then with the snacks and things like goldfish, again, not necessarily a bad snack, but I think what we fall into is, it's just that go to. I see kids walking, parents are walking down the sidewalk. The child just starts to fuss. And maybe if they're older, maybe earlier, it used to be a pacifier that they would stick in their mouth as soon as they would fuss.
Hmm.
But as they get older, maybe they automatically just grab a snack and
Hmm.
hand it to them.
Hmm.
Or parents seem to always have these snacks in
Hmm.
the diaper bag or in their purse, and it's just this automatic, oh, you're hungry, or you're not hungry, or you're fussing, or you want something, or you're kind of bugging me, I need you to be quiet. They
Hmm.
hand over these snacks that really, and you can speak to this more even,
Hmm.
don't really have any nutritional value that I
Hmm.
know of.
Hmm.
So I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree, Kelly. I agree. They are that segment in the grocery store which is on the shelf, nothing happens to it, it's just going to stay on the shelf and is good to eat any time of the day, any time of the month, any time of the year. Yeah, they don't have nutrition, very very minimalistic if any. And sometimes these are formulas, baby formulas, they've been made differently, they're fortified, so they don't really fall in this category. They can also stay on the shelf. But when we are talking about things like crackers, things like biscuit, like wafers, chips, they have, and I think our audience and now today's world is aware of it. They know how much, that's maybe the difference, but they do know that this thing has a lot of sugar, it has a lot of salt, it has a lot of flavor, which is not really healthy flavor. And coming back to what we've been talking about, that is what makes it addictive, and that is what makes it habitual. I am habitual to having two coffees, two teas, two cup of teas with sugar. I'm habitual to have a biscuit with a tea in the morning. I can't, I have to have it. This is not a child speaking, this is an adult. But we were, yeah, we are there, and we have not born, we are not, we just didn't come out like this, right? So we've had our journey to reach here. And again, it's not talking about us, but if we reflect, if this is what we do, the children are going to be following the same path for that specific food item. And then sometimes these things are the way they are made. So, for example, in terms of these crackers, goldfish, or other crackers, some are made with different ingredients. But if you talk about the traditional ones, they are made with refined flours, which means enough amount of sugar is in them. They don't really have, they've gone through a lot of processing, which means they don't really have any fiber. So it is also health wise not good for the baby, in the sense that it might lead to constipation for the child. It might lead to them for texture aversion, if they're only eating that kind of texture. It also might lead to things like that, they don't want to have any other snack, any other food, because they are so used to exactly that specific taste mix. Kelly, I have lost you. Yeah, I have you.
It. I'm so sorry.
No, no, we have our editor. He knows. So the recording is on. So then that allows him to edit. Okay. So can you ask me again that what do you think about nutrition and
Can I just start with that
yeah, just
phrase?
yeah, just with the question is good. Then I will answer.
Okay. So, what do you think about the nutrition with those foods?
hmm The thing is, Kelly, yeah. So firstly, I want to say that yeah, I agree with your list. With the foods you mentioned, which can affect that fall into that not so healthy habit formation and getting used to. I would just like to talk about yeah, why and how those foods become, that I'm used to them. The kids become used to them. They are made like that. They are not made with nutrition in mind. They are made with things in mind which make them addictive, such as they have a lot of refined flours, which basically become sugar in the body. They have salt, which is also like a hit for the body. The sodium. They yeah, the kind of oils are used in them, and I think now with our generations, it is getting clearer to parents. They know that these things are not basically made of the most healthiest ingredients, but all of these ingredients are kinda like how sometimes we behave, that I have to have a coffee in the morning. I have to have my chai and biscuit in the morning. I can't function if I'm not having sugar in tea. Like it has to be sweet. And I think some of them, some we again, we're not talking about adults here, we're not talking about correcting anything. We're talking about foundationally, yeah, just making it strong. And things like crackers, goldfish crackers, wafers, biscuits, chips, they don't allow that strong foundation to be formed. The strong foundation of a child eating rainbow food, the strong foundation of being okay with a sour taste, liking a tasteless, it's not tasteless, it's very tasty cucumber, but yeah, it's kind of doesn't have a taste, liking a cucumber, liking a sour yogurt, dipping some fries in ketchup. All of those things are different flavors, different textures. But if you are stuck on a snack such as wafers, such as crackers, they will get used to it. And then that sugar rush which you get, is refined flour gives a sugar rush. That cannot be achieved with a banana as a snack. Yes, banana is sweet. It is healthy, but they will feel good, strong. They will not feel frantic after it. They will not get that rush. And if you get used to a rush, then yeah, you want that same thing. The good thing is that when they are starting solids, when they are in their early months of eating, even if they have reached their toddler stage, they are not at that level that we can't undo these things, or we can't mix these things up. They are not at a level where they understand that they can't function without this. We can model it, we can make it interesting, we can mix snacks up, and most importantly, we can kind of do it a collective thing. It could be a collective things, making few things at home when time allows. Also, I personally really advocate that it's good for children to see these things in the house, in the sense that they see some apples on the table, they see some bananas on one of the tables, dining tables, and they see the family members that it's a snack time, they're having some fruits. These kind of things are yogurt, whatever is falling under good nutritious food, which we want as a healthy habit for the child to develop. The processed crackers and wafers will not allow that to happen. Are they nutritious? No. Are they handy sometimes to keep if you're traveling or something? Yeah, just have them in the bag. But for a day to day, everyday continuous consistent exposure, no. Because then not only are they not as healthy, they also become an habit, and that habit doesn't allow that child to move away from it. So, it's that's why I felt like it's very important, or we both felt, it's very important for us to talk about habit formation. And while we are discussing this topic, we're discussing different foods and different things. Do you do you feel that there are some small steps? This is kind of connecting to the initial conversation we were having. Do you think that there are some small steps which the parents can take differently or more consciously when it comes to this initial habit formation, months or years, for our babies?
Yeah, definitely. And I before I answer that, I want to actually circle back because you made such a couple great points and nice connections that I wanted to point out also is because you were when you said earlier about the rush
Hmm.
of like the sweets or that sugar. I mean, we're really talking about dopamine in
Hmm.
some cases and brain chemistry.
Yeah.
So this really can go, we won't go there today, but
Yeah.
that it really can get deep in terms of this habit formation.
Yeah.
And you're so right in saying the rush, because we all know like the rush of that sugar and the better snack or that tastier snack because of the sugar.
Yeah.
And yeah, then the carrot doesn't quite give you that rush when
Yeah.
you're used to the other one. So anyway, I just wanted to hit on that, and also the point about the habit. And then we as parents, we are modeling, if we give the crackers, we're starting to model that as a habit of this is what we eat for a snack time.
Mhm.
But then in the background, like you mentioned, the food companies are playing into the addiction
Mhm.
piece of the flavor and the taste.
Mhm.
So we really can get in this negative cycle
Mhm.
where again, subconsciously, inadvertently, we are feeding these
Mhm.
bad habits.
Right. Correct.
So
And as you said, that the purpose is not at all to call any food bad or demean anyone. And everyone's circumstances are different, their work life looks very different. But if we for few minutes and for some time, kind of clear, and I really want our viewers, our parents, to visualize this. But if we for some moments just close our eyes and don't think about our workload, making money, I don't know, all those things which keep us running, if we don't think about it, and we think about our kids starting to eat, and we just realize, or eating, not even starting to eat, just they're eating, and we think about it, they do not have an innate preference to have a carrot or a goldfish cracker. They don't really have a preference to go for a pizza and not have, couscous. They don't, they because it's clean slate for them. Or if it's, even if they are in a toddler stage, yes, they might have some preferences, but they're still developing. They've never tasted this. It's like if we, I don't know, if we tomorrow end up on a different planet and they eat something else completely different, and you see and you're like, yeah, well, I've never had that. So we are an adult, we are difficult to change, and all of those things apply. But yeah, but we see those people eating it. Yeah, we're gonna be like, yeah, okay, I can try, I can see what it is. So kids and babies don't have that, and this is actually what we should leverage, because they don't really have a preference. We are gonna influence that preference. They're gonna make that preference, then we influence it as much as possible in the things which we know of, which we can learn from the professionals out there, which people, can so many times have reached out to us to ask us, and we help support them through different means, and many families, they want to change their own diet also. This is perfect time to do it, because it's yeah, if it's all clean and you're writing it for the first time on a board, then whatever you write is going to leave an impression on it. Then you keep erasing it and then you write over it again, but the more we do it, the more impression is going to stay. And
Yeah.
that's their heart and their mind. And if a child has been exposed to it enough time, modeled, exposed, then the freshness of a carrot, the fillingness of a carrot and hummus is something they will prioritize over that taste, that staly taste of a goldfish cracker. If you have a chip, it leaves that staly taste, right? And what's going to remove that flavor? A new chip. What's going to remove that taste? A new chip. And then you're in that thing. And versus, if you've been introduced to banana, let's pick some fruits, bananas, apple and peanut butter, carrot and hummus, then there will be a stage where the children are craving that, almost that they would want. So they want some freshness, they want some bite, they want something soupy, and they then I'm not at all against, would never be against ordering pizzas, not having pastas, no, even keeping those goldfish crackers handy,
Mhm.
all good. But if we not think of this as, oh, I'm not offering, I need to offer healthy, I'm not offering healthy. If we rather just turn it and think around the line that I'm setting their habits, I think it will strike us that, yeah, if it's about habit, maybe it's too much of goldfish cracker. Probably they're not going to leave this. Yeah, I know that parents want to do it for nutrition also, for health also, but yeah, maybe sometimes that alone is not giving that push to bring change or to do things differently. But then if we think that, yeah, it's a habit which might stay even when we are not there. When we think of it like that, I'm not talking like anything negative, just gone out for a trip, you know, and then I think at least it will for us, it will stay with the parents, it will stay with the caregivers. And yeah, and we can go so on this, like just the fact of habits, healthy habits. But there's an angle, Kelly, which I wanted to ask you, and of course I also have a lot to say on it. But what are your thoughts on the different types of foods which are like available in the market? So when we say about habits, we talk about health, we talk about, there are a lot of trends, there are a lot of, like social media is crazy, there's a lot of noise, like quinoa is a superfood nowadays, and all those things. Like, how do you feel about when it comes to finding the best foods for the baby?
Mm, well, I know you could weigh into this as well as from the nutrition side, which is huge. Um, I think, you know, really convenient. What comes to mind, at at least here, I think of conveniences,
Hmm.
where we can fall into some traps. And again, these foods, I'm not demonizing them, not putting them down, because we all need some of this stuff sometimes, the convenience. So, um, you know, pouches, or like these snacks that we talked about, the easy to grab,
Hmm.
individual, even packaged
Hmm.
snacks that are just easy to grab on the go.
Hmm.
um, but we can fall into traps by if we overuse these things, and
Hmm.
then that's where I think we're really leaning in again to some picky eating patterns
Hmm.
potentially.
Hmm. Hmm.
um
Hmm.
but if we really, I bring up the fact of just cost too a lot of times, because the cost of these prepackaged foods,
Hmm.
even jarred baby foods, or the pouches and the individualized packaged
Hmm.
fruit snacks
Hmm.
and things like that, are much more expensive
Yeah.
than if we if getting back to our natural whole foods, if we could cut up a carrot and take that on the run, it's so much cheaper and so much healthier. But
So much healthy.
um so yeah, I think it's easy because we have these conveniences these days. It can feed into our picky eating habits.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, fully agree, Kelly. And I think it's I'm really, hoping, wanting that things like these, I'm going to use the word viral, like go viral, that this also has not just habit of going for gold cracker, but also showing those traces, those behaviors of picky eating, highly selective eating. And because you are, yeah, you are limited when kids are only given that, they're limited by, yeah, they're limited on texture, they're limited on flavor, they're limited on variety. And it affects it can lead to the road of picky eating. Again, this is not a scare, it's not for scare, but this is really to stop and think, little consciously, that these things are all adding up. And the question I asked you, and the point we discussed, you said, you said that I can add to that from nutrition standpoint. Yeah, and I think, not I want to talk about nutrition, but I also want to really emphasize to all the families, who listen us, who follow us, that food is so much more than being some items on the plate. Food is culture, food is tradition, food is weather, food is the demographic. Food is your situation, what situation you are in, what you can afford, not afford, all those things. Your own habits is also that, as a family. So it's important to firstly be educated on the fact that whatever is yours, it has been eaten in your families for generation. You eat as an adult, you get it based on where you're living, is good for your baby. They don't really need, is good, is healthy. Yeah, can be optimized, which is something which can be optimized all the time. Probably needs to be, by optimized, I don't want to say, yeah, not maybe optimized, but maybe needs to be made appropriately for the baby. But whatever is their local food, we use the government of India always uses this word, that vocal for local, that voice out your local food. But whatever has been your local food, your generational food, your traditional food, it is there in your lineage for a reason. And if you are in a similar space, still you're living similar areas, you are following similar lifestyles, then, and you get those foods, then they are nutrition wise enough, habit wise healthy, and they are appropriate for the baby to have as real foods. They don't really, babies, unfortunately, companies, commercials, all those setups, they are going down the lane of convincing families that babies and kids need special food,
Mm.
and which is so not the case. Like, they don't need any. Yeah, yeah. Again, maybe their food maybe needs to be made appropriately so they can be eating it at 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, and all of that. But we should be vocal for local. We should be vocal for traditional food. There's a reason why back home there is rice, there's lentils, that's dal, there's yogurt, there's some salad, some pickles, all of that. We call it a thali, which means a plate which has multiple different types of foods. And yeah, it's good for our, that's what we've been eating, and that's what the child should be exposed to. Versus in regions where there's very cold, maybe they're eating meat, they sometimes even in different forms of meat, different types of fish, and there's a way how they prepare it. And yeah, and if that's your local, then we follow it, and we learn how to give it to our children. And I really want to emphasize that, learning that, unlearning the previous things which are, or not unlearning the previous things, unlearning the things which have been set in our mind by the 90s, commercialization, by the 90s advertising and all of those, and till date they're advertising. Unlearning those is important before the baby's feeding start, because that is all which will help the little ones to have a healthy habit formation. because I think it's also about confidence, like we would, if parents know that, yeah, this is good, I'm doing good, I'm preparing good, I'm making, even if I'm not making a 3 meal course or a 5 meal, it's not needed. My child is healthily, happily good with carrots and hummus, with a apple cut, with some apple, and with some banana oats, blueberry oats. They're absolutely good. They don't really need a cereal with packed different flavors, and they don't really need those purees which has all 3 4 things put together, which is not real food. We would never eat a food that's like that mixed up. So it's important for parents to know that their home food is nutritious enough for the child to have, and not be convinced otherwise.
And I love it. I love everything that you're saying because, yeah, it it's such a positive way to look at it. I think it's
Hmm.
positive in that it's more simplistic
Hmm.
approach that we can take. I think it's so easy to get caught up
Hmm.
in the advertising, in the marketing, and what should I be doing? What and with social media, parents are always, I feel like, second guessing themselves
Hmm.
today about, oh, well, what should I feed? What should I do? That questioning, where you're saying,
Hmm.
kind of go with your gut, go
Yeah.
with what you already do, go with, trust yourself. I think that's such a message that I want to push out to parents is trust yourself, trust your gut. uh, if you're eating healthy and confidently,
Hmm.
that's what you feed your child. It doesn't have to be something special. It doesn't have to be, you know, a different path.
Hmm.
And I think this, I want to lead into then what you had asked me earlier, some of the things that we can do,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
this I think of as an example with, for example, I don't like using the term like kid foods.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't want to think of foods like that because, and at restaurants, the kid menu,
Hmm.
because at least here, everybody knows that's like macaroni and cheese, hot dog, chicken nuggets, fries.
Hmm.
Those are the foods on a kid's menu
Hmm.
typically.
Hmm.
Why should we? Why should we feel that we need to feed our kids those foods just because it's
Hmm.
on the kids menu?
Hmm.
I suggest,
Hmm.
and we did have this rule in our family with my two boys, that we would go to a restaurant and I would say no thank you to the kids menu if they offered it, or we would just ignore that part. And I have two kids, so
Hmm.
then the suggestion of getting one meal off the regular, because it is more expensive, I get it, bigger portions, so they would order something and split it, or
Hmm.
I would split something with them, or there's ways to do it. I
Exactly.
don't think we have to be feel trapped that when we go to a restaurant, oh, automatically our
Yeah.
kids get the kid menu.
Yeah.
I want to get out of that mindset. Or even besides restaurants, thinking, oh, um, all kids eat these foods. Well, I've had little kids come in who are eating seaweed and
Hmm.
different things that aren't as common here. So
Yeah.
just that mindset of, no, it doesn't have to. We don't have to have a kid category. Just like you were saying, their plate should look like ours. We should expect them to eat the same foods that we're eating. There's no
Yeah.
reason not to.
Correct, 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 and absolutely, absolutely on board, Kelly. So just kind of putting, kind of bringing all the things we've discussed together. So we of course, as parents, want the best for our little ones, food wise, otherwise, and there's a path to follow, which foods to give, how to offer. All of that is there, but it's so important that we understand that they will learn what they see. They want what they see. There's so much to do with habit formation of having, doing those things in front of them, buying those things with them. And exactly what you said, like ordering. Yeah, I imagine a child who is just, when going out at restaurants, eating a plate of food which the family is eating, a version of it, or versus, having specifically from kids menu. Their adult versions will look very different, you know, very different. And again, the objective is not at all to say, that one path is wrong, and anyone's doing it, everyone's got their circumstances. But if we put some thought to it, it's not that expensive, it's coming from home, it's coming local, it's also not that difficult, it's exactly what you're eating, just being preparing it, and after some time, even that sensitive preparation is not even needed that much. So it's raising a mini version of you, but with all the habits you want, all the good habits you want.
Yeah. And I think, just we've I walk away from this discussion with such a happy feeling and a positive feeling, because we're talking about the opportunity to use habits to our benefit, use positive, establish positive habits with our kids who, they don't have, our little ones don't have those established bad habits yet.
Hmm.
So this is our opportunity as parents and caregivers to really lay it out how we want them to have it, to be positive.
Hmm.
And I just think it's very an optimistic view of, and giving parents, you're in control. You're the ones who are establishing this foundation, and
Correct.
keeping in mind that this foundation then will and can carry them for their lifetime.
Correct.
So it's really impactful, these years that we're establishing these habits. And I think we all want to choose to model and establish positive habits rather than negative.
Correct, correct. Completely on board, Kelly. And yeah, thank you so much, Kelly, for your time. So hope all the parents or parents having babies at different kids at different age connect with this, relate with this, and follow some things if they need help, guidance, professionally. We are there. So many other professionals are doing this. They are there. But just to think that, yeah, my local is good, my home cooking is good. This is what I can do. This is what we are going to follow. And yeah, and just go with it. And really not let companies or these commercials, kind of make them believe otherwise. So yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Kelly, thank you so much. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Thank you, Sonal. I love chatting with you.
Yes, yes, same here, same here. And yeah, we'll meet our viewers in our next podcast.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.